Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Alien Romulus, I believe, will firmly, once and for all, show in canon that David did not create the Xenomorphs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will be diving into some slight spoilers ahead for Alien Romulus based on some of the leaks which came out about the film, the plot, and some information. However, this is firmly a theory, and I will explain how and why I believe it will essentially, once and for all, prove without a shadow of a doubt that David did not create the Xenomorph, which is one of the most contentious aspects of the Alien franchise in recent years. And I'm sure many people will be very, very happy with this at the very least. And I will say, I think I'm right. I do believe I'm right. So, what am I talking about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, during the 10 years that David had spent on Planet 4, the rogue synthetic AI, David had been experimenting with mysterious pathogen, the black goo, which would then later result in the creation of the alien creature known as the protomorph. It's what we called the creature, and then was also known in wider literature as well. So David discovered that some species were created or mutated by the pathogen and had the potential to further spread that agent via their own refined method of parasitically attacking and infecting a host. Now, I do think it's important to note that there were a whole litany of failed experiments during those 10 years, and so this is what led to potentially the confirmation that he was the creator. It's also noted in the DVD commentary, anyway, that Ridley Scott quite out and out stated David created the Xenomorphs. But it's not strictly true, because there are two elements at play here. I'm just sort of filling in the blanks, and then we'll get to how Alien Romulus will undo all of this, I think, anyway. So obviously there were the experiments on Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, which led to further creation and moving further down the line towards our Xenomorph creation anyway. Now, it's important to note, again, it is important to note what David says. So David sent a message to Weyland-Yutani, and he would then inform them that he planned to continue his experiments using his new subjects, and then was also going to be turning one of them into a queen. Now this is the end of Alien Covenant, and essentially adds more fuel to the fire that he had created the Xenomorph. Also, when he led Captain Oram down to the almost catacomb-like area in Alien Covenant, and then would also give birth to that creature which David then deemed to be the perfect organism, that almost seemed to imply it was the coming of fruition of his plan. Now, here's the contradiction in lore, kind of. In the behind-the-scenes element of Alien Covenant, in the novelization anyway, David reveals that his creations are not entirely original and are his attempt to replicate the Xenomorph which was created by the engineers. Also, David elaborates that the Xenomorphs he created were the results of hybridizing various neomorph strains spawned from the indigenous life on Planet 4 using the chemical accelerant the black goo. Also, there's more. In the film Advent, the short film, and the illustrations of his research, which were included in the DVD and the digital release, it also shows some of David's hybridized experiments, but also some sort of fossilized activity of an egg and things like that as well, which again adds some fuel to the fire that the eggs, these eggs that he was creating and things like this, they weren't ultimately all his. But here's, I believe, where Alien Romulus will debunk all of this. Again, I think we shall see. We'll move forwards and we will see, but I think that this will once again confirm that David is not the creator of the Xenomorphs once and for all. I think it will prove that, actually, and this is my theory from the leaks that we've had. So, let's fill in the blanks with respect to some of the leaks. In Alien Romulus, it is stated, ladies and gentlemen, that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation had been in outer space and had tracked down the big chap. This is the Xenomorph, the alien from the original film Alien. It's known in the wider fan community as the big chap. Okay. They recover the big chap, And I also have a video on how I believe they find the big chap coming up as well. But they find the big chap, they bring him back to the Romulus module aboard the Renaissance space station, and they begin testing on the big chap. They begin working on him, experimenting on him, creating various forms, dissecting the DNA in the big chap. This then ties into Alien Covenant, but I think it debunks things moving forwards, because they then work all the way back through the substrate of the DNA until they find the chemical A0-3959X.91-15, the black goo mutagen, the accelerant. Now, why do I think this will ultimately debunk and disprove that David created the Xenomorphs? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Alien we know from the dialogue that it looked fossilized. The engineer in his pilot seat was a fossilized creature there. We also know that the eggs had been there for thousands of years. And we know that the big chap was spawned directly from those eggs. So if we can work all the way backwards in the DNA of that creature, the big chap, which we already know is spawned from an egg and a facehugger which had been in stasis for thousands of years, we know unequivocally now that David had merely replicated what the engineers had done. So if you can imagine two forms of engineers, one's messing with the black goo, the mutagen, as a weapon, and then also a sort of an offshoot group of scientists, engineers that have used the black goo to create another bioweapon, i.e. the Xenomorph. Two bioweapons, of course, one more chaotic than the other. The black goo results in absolutely chaos when it blows down on a planet, and then the other dealing with an actual parasitic life form, the Xenomorph. But I think this movie will actually show and prove to us that David once and for all did not create the Xenomorph. Because if you're going to take the dialogue from Alien as canon, fossilized, thousands of years old, X, Y, and Z, been here for ages, and then you're going to work all the way backwards with one of those offspring, the Xenomorph, the big chap, from that egg, then yes, the black goo, the mutagen, is how this creature comes to be, but it also correlates directly back to the novelization of Alien Covenant, where David reveals he did not make the Xenomorphs. He merely followed a pattern and tried to perfect it. He tried to change it, to make something different, to perfect the organism himself. And we know that anyway, simply from how this Xenomorph variant had grown and changed throughout Alien Covenant. It wasn't exactly a Xenomorph. Again, protomorph or praetomorph is probably more accurate. So although David created that Xenomorph, I think, again, using in-canon dialogue and from the leaks of Alien Romulus, this will prove once and for all that David did not create the Xenomorph. Anyway, ladies and gents, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop it down below. If you want me to cover anything else in the Alien franchise, there's some thoughts, theories that you may have, some answers you might want to explore, please do drop that down below in the comments. Give the video a like and a share. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye now.